Flosstube, it's Stephanie here, Ms. Oh So Crafty. Welcome to my Flosstube video number 63. Yeah, 63. So today is Monday, February 18th, 2019. It's been a while since I filmed, about 6 weeks. Sorry for that. Things have been kind of weird. I was sick for a while. Still not 100%, but it was kind of strange. It was not like a real serious illness, but it was like a low-level illness that just wouldn't let go. So, anyway, I have been stitching a lot, and I have a lot of things to share. I've got 2 finishes. I've got 8 whips. I want to tell you a little bit about my rotation. I want to talk about magical stitches, and I want to share my haul. I've got a lot of haul. I got a really excellent haul this past week. Some kits in the mail. And I guess, oh yeah, and I'm going to have a stitch along too for my birthday in April. So let's get started. I guess first, I guess we can talk about finishes. Why not? So I'll start with the thing that I finished most recently. And that was the Queen Anne house on the Christmas Village. Here's the whole thing. And then the Queen Anne house is this one right here. So that took about 7.5 days to stitch, a little bit longer because I had to do 2 sides of the border there. You can see the snowflakes that are done around the edge. It was a lot of fun to stitch. I love Victorian architecture, so it was really fun, and I think the backstitching turned out really nicely on this one. I love the little gate there and the candle flames in the window, and I love the how you can see the Christmas tree through the window there on the lower left. And there were lots of bead swags on here, so there's bead loops. Those are the red ones on the wreath, and then there's 12 swags with the emerald beads. A lot. So I'm quite pleased with that. So I guess this would be like my home in the village. And then I did start another building next door, but I'll share that in a few minutes when we talk about whips. So the other finish I had was Charm Santa, and I did make a clip. If anything deserves a close-up clip, it's that one. So I will insert that clip here. Hey Flosstube, Stephanie here, Ms. Oh So Crafty. I wanted to make a clip to show you some close-ups of my recent finish, Charmed Santa. Or actually the pattern is called Father Christmas. It's by Sandy Orton, and it's from the Charms of Christmas book from the Christmas Remembered series by Leisure Arts. So I chose to stitch him on 32 count raw gold Belfast. So I don't know if you can see the sparkle. It's not really coming out all that well, but maybe a little bit. Over here, maybe. Yeah, if I tilt the camera, you can see it a little bit. It is quite sparkly in real life, and it is gold opalescent thread in there. So the other materials I used were DMC as charted, and then a bunch of blends, blended DMC, which kind of created the look of hand-dyed floss for a lot of the colors. And I called for 2 metallics, which are used mainly in the border. So the metallic floss I chose to use is Kreinik number 4002HL, and then I also used 02HL blending filament. And that was all around the border. I needed something really sparkly because the fabric itself is sparkly, so I chose the HL, the high luster. And let's see what else. So the pattern also, well, the pattern is shown with charms. Everything in the book is shown with charms. That's why it's called the Charms of Christmas. But the pattern did not list the charms. So what I did is I looked very carefully at the model photograph and determined the size of the charms based on how many stitches they covered. And with that information, I went shopping at fancifulbrass.com, and I found these charms. So I'll start with the big ones. So there's the ballerina, the nutcracker, the wreath, and then up here we have the boat dangling from the teddy bear, the bells on the bird, and the little star on the tree. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 charms. The big thing with this pattern is the back stitching. There's tons and tons of back stitch, like 12 different instructions, I think, and even after I took some photographs of this piece from my blog, I realized there was a bit that I had forgotten, so I had to go back and do that. Yeah, and then this business right here, the diamond mesh bag, that was the last step of backstitching, and it calls for it to be done in 2 strands of some off-white DMC or whatever, and I tried doing it that way, but it looked terrible, so I decided I would try pearl cotton. So I did. I got some pearl cotton in an off-white color, and basically what I did was long stitches for the diagonals, and then I actually couched it around the exterior of the bag. Now that worked out pretty well. It's vastly better than it was with the 2 strands of DMC. And what else? Well, this took a while to stitch, about 32 days. It is mostly full coverage. I estimated 85% coverage in the within the stitch count, and the total size of the piece is a little bit over 8 by 11 inches. So I am going to claim a nice tidy credit for Stitch from Stash. The details in this piece are just insane. There's a little squirrel or something down here, and there's an apple over there. I think the Harlequin doll came out really cute. There's actually a ball inside this bag here, and apples in his bag. Lovely greenery. I made a little modification to the greenery, so it says to backstitch the greenery with some like mid-green, which is as it is done over here, but when I used that same color over here, it didn't really signify, it didn't really show anything, so because the color was too pale. So I looked at the DMC color card and I picked out one darker shade, and I used that for all the interior green backstitch that was against the darker colors, so it would show up. And I love that teddy bear. I think he's so cute. This whole section, the toy sack, was just ridiculous. Color changes galore, backstitching out the wazoo. I think the horse turned out pretty cute too. And the doll's not bad. There's a little boat in there, and I don't even know what this is. I think it's some sort of musical instrument or something, but I'm not sure. And Santa's face. Well, the face was also pretty ridiculous. Tons and tons of colors, fractional stitches. There is a close-up chart for the face, which is helpful. But once I put in the back stitch, I was just, in several colors of course, I was just thrilled with it. I think he has so much personality, cute little twinkle in his eye. Absolutely adorable. And I love how the snow is collected a little bit on his coat. And I think the sky is really pretty. The blue night sky with the snow coming down. And I love the border of the piece with the scroll work and the holly leaves. I just think it's really classy and fancy and right up my alley, I guess. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased with this, and I'm so glad it's done. All right, see you back in the main video. Okay, I'm back. So I guess we'll go through whips now, and we'll try to do it chronologically, starting with where I left off. I guess I filmed around January 6th or whatever, and at the time I had shown you my Joan Elliott Christmas teddy that I had just started. So I'm stitching this one. Well, let's sort of picture what it's supposed to look like, and here's my current progress. So this is stitched on 32 count opalescent Belfast, and I gave it, I don't know, like 3 or 4 or 5 days maybe so far, I don't know. So I worked on this for the school magical stitches. There was a challenge to stitch like greenery and a challenge to stitch silver. That was like the homework. So I did the window for the silver, and then the leaves and the tree over here for the greenery. And I'm looking forward to working on this again this week. So this is my last like real focus piece for February. I guess I should tell you a little bit about my rotation. So what I'm doing this year is I'm doing mainly a 5-day rotation. So it's 5 times 5 projects, adds up to 25 days, and then for the rest, the 3 days to make up the 28 days, I have another project that I'm doing for 3 days. So it's 6 projects a month, 5 that get 5 days each, 1 that gets 3 days, and then the 3 days at the end are bonus days. But this is a pretty loose rotation mainly because of the school magical stitches. So I'm sure everybody watches Bendy Stitchy Michelle, right? She has this hilarious hashtag that it's like magical stitches rules my life, and that's so true because every week the homework comes out and I'm like, well, how am I going to fit my projects into this? And I'm determined not to like go around just like starting a million things. So I have to like get creative and figure out how my projects are going to fit into the various homework challenges, and then there's the monthly extra credit, and then there's the yearly extra credit. So yeah, I mean the weekly homework is not really that big of a deal. It's usually like between like 600 and 800 stitches on various projects with different themes, or you can do double the amount if you don't have anything to fit those themes. And as far as my rotation goes, like when I have my project that I'm picking out for 5 days, I look at it, I'm like, okay, what do I want to accomplish for these 5 days? So in the case of magical stitches, it might be like, a couple hundred stitches for the homework and then another 1,000 for the yearly ultimate challenge. So when I get to that point, the 2,000 stitches or whatever, then I'm done with it. And that may not take all 5 days. It might take 3 days, it might take 4 days, whatever. So at that point, I rotate early or I do something else or whatever. So yeah, magical stitches rules my life. Okay, so the next thing I did was I started the Save the Stitches project. So this is by Elizabeth Almond from Blackwork Journey, and I am doing this on 25 count Lagana in the Stormy Cloud colorway. I'm using DMC 336 and 4240 variegated, and Diamant in silver, copper, and gold. So what I did was I did the outlines for parts 1, 2, and 3, and I actually finished parts 1 and 2. So this is part 1 and that's part 2 with the metallics and everything. And then I got a little start on part 3, and then I started working on the border over there. The border, I don't know, maybe I was just tired or something, but it took me like 3 tries to get it going in the right place. Oh dear. I really love working on this. It's a lot of fun. I worked on it I just plain old started it, and then later in the month I took it out again to do like homework. There was a prompt to stitch something royalty related, and I claimed that this fit because it is black work, and black work was commonly used to adorn the clothing of royalty in the medieval era. So, yeah. The nice thing about magical stitches is that as long as you can explain how your project fits, in a reasonable manner, it's cool. So you just have to be creative. Think outside the box a little bit. And then what else? Well, there was another prompt that you had to watch the first Harry Potter movie and stitch and post before and after pictures. I used that for this one as well. And I think I used it for one of the year-long ultimate challenges. The prompt was stitch something related to a Horcrux, because there were 7 Horcruxes in the series. All the ultimate challenges are based around 7. The 7 is like this recurring theme in Harry Potter. Yeah, so the Horcruxes. One of the Horcruxes was the diadem of Rowena Ravenclaw, and the diadem was basically just like a headdress, whatever, a little tiara, if you will, and it was encrusted in diamonds. So I say this is kind of like that because it is all made of diamonds, right? And it has sparkly bit to it as well, since it has the silver, the copper, and the gold metallic. Yeah. So the diamond thread is okay. I don't know if I would purchase it again, but it's all right to work with. The only problem with it, it's nice to stitch with, it's just a little bit splitty. So I don't like stitching with real short lengths. I like to, cut a decent length so I can make a good amount of progress before I have to rethread, fasten off and rethread my needle. So when I cut like a 18-inch length or whatever, the diamond thread doesn't want to necessarily behave for all that time. It will start to shred, but I'm making it work, so. All right, and then after that, it was time to get back to my whips. So the big one was Winnie the Pooh. My goal for this was to get 2,000 stitches on it, and that's the goal for every month, basically, until it's finished. So I worked on it, let's see, 4 days in January, and then I worked on it another 3 days in February. So I've gotten a total of over 4,000 stitches since last time. And I did Christopher Robin's head over one. Isn't that cute? Yeah, this is coming along. I'm not really loving it anymore, but it does work very well for the magical stitches because there's so much going on in this piece. It can fit into a lot of different things, thematically. And also, being full coverage, it's easy to count up the stitches for the 1,000 stitch blocks for the Ultimate Challenge, so I've used it for a couple of those. So far, I've gotten 9 or 10 of the Ultimate Challenges done, and there's only 22 of them, so yeah, I'm going to be, if I continue up the pace, I'm going to be done way before the end of the year with the Ultimate Challenge. When I first looked at it, I was like, 22,000 stitches, that's going to be a lot, but it's really not. I mean, because the type of stuff I stitch, I tend to like big projects, so 1,000 stitches is really not that difficult to obtain. And then after that, I decided to start a new project that was Celtic Winter. Stitching this on Pearl Gray 28 count Cashel and using the Cape Conversion by Natalie G and using her colors. I'm using her colors for the dress. Those are conversion colors, and I chose my own colors for the cape. And I love how it's coming out. I worked on this in January. I also worked on it in February. Gave it 3 or 4 days in February. Same thing in January. And it's very easy to stitch because it's just these long columns of color, and I just work them down to a line on the chart. Right now, everything's at the line 190 of the chart. So, if that gives you an idea. So there's, I think the whole thing is like 230 or something. So yeah, there's a bit to go to get down to the bottom. The bottom is the biggest part of it because her dress just, fans out and everything. And also it goes, the back of the dress or the cape goes beyond where the border lines are and the motifs. I'm really looking forward to getting down to the bottom. Maybe I'll try to do that in March. I don't know. We'll see how much time I have for it, I guess. But I do really love the colors, and it's a lot of fun to stitch. A little bit boring. Again, it's another good one for the School Magical Stitches because it's just those large chunks of color. I can easily work block by block, So I've used it for, I used it for one of the ultimate challenges. It was like, it was Mrs. Zambini had 7 husbands or whatever, and she was renowned for her beauty. And I said, well, Celtic Winter is also a beautiful lady, so bingo, right? And I've used it for the weekly homework and stuff like that, and yeah. So that's Celtic Winter. And then, let's see, after that I worked on, well, okay, we're going out of order now, whatever, here we go. Let's just get through the rest of the whip. So here's Bird of Happiness. This is by Riolis. I worked on this for one day in January, and then I worked on it for like that one night. I just did it for like 3 homework tasks, and I got 600 stitches on it. And then in February, I also managed to fit it into some homework and also Ultimate Challenge. Which one did I do? Let's see. I think it had to do with Moody. Something to do with Alistair Moody. And I said, Moody was one of the original members of the Order of the Phoenix, and their mascot obviously was the Phoenix, the Firebird. That's what this is. What I did this month in February is I basically finished this upper wing here, and then I worked on the neck and the head a little bit just with the threads that I had parked on the piece. And in January what I did is I finished off the lower half with that, see that light purple business in here? That's like a blended color. And then I also worked a little bit up here just to get this wing started. So this is almost done, as you can see. It's a Riolis kit on 14 count 8F cloth that is pre-printed with the background. And I love it. Favorite whip, joy to stitch with the rainbow colors, the plumage and all that. Really love it. It'll be kind of bittersweet to finish it, but I was kind of thinking this would be a birthday finish, but as you can see it's almost done, and I did plan to work on it in March, so I could easily finish it in March if I so choose. The other thing is I haven't done any backstitching on it yet. I have decided to sub out the backstitch colors with Krynic, and I don't have 2 of the colors I need, so I will have to obtain those. Alright, the next whip I want to share is Spooky House by X's and O's. As you can imagine, this fits rather nicely into the School of Magical Stitches, being a spooky type thing, right? So this is, the pattern is by X's and O's, and it's stitched on 32 count Thunderstorm Belfast by Silkweaver. So what I did is I finished off the back stitching on the lower half, which isn't quite true. I mean, there's a little bit left, mainly in the metallics, but I did the bulk of it. And then I started on this page up here. the upper left page. I stitched it. I even backstitched most of it. The only thing that's left is to do backstitch the edge of the moon up here and the bat. And this little, one of these little roof lines in here, I think that needs backstitching. But I put in the metallics and everything. It was a partial page, so it went pretty quick. I used this for several homework tasks and also for an ultimate challenge. The ultimate challenge was, it had to do with Voldemort, and I said that Voldemort's headquarters during the Wizarding War was Malfoy Manor. And this place is certainly dark and spooky enough, just like Malfoy Manor, so this could be Malfoy Manor as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I really enjoy working on this now. Now that all the backstitching is done on the lower half and I have like a better idea of how it's going to turn out, I think it is just awesome. Look at the detail in the tree, her roots. I refer to the tree as a woman because, well, she is. You'll see when I get up higher. The tree has a face, as well as other womanly attributes. And yeah, I really enjoy working on it, and I think I should be able to finish it this year. No problem. The next page is the big one, though. It's almost, the whole page is pretty much covered in stitches. A lot of it in this stuff, the moon. The moon's not that big of a deal. I'm just using the one strand of petite treasure braid, so just long rows back and forth. You can kind of see this whole business is going to be moon. And of course, the house will cover part of it, but there's a lot of moon left to do. All right, let's see. What's next? Well, I worked on Charm of Santa, but I finished that. I worked on Celtic Wintermoor. I've shown that to you. Okay, at the very end of the month, I worked on the Teresa Wentzler Fantasy Triptych. I needed it for the January extra credit in the Magical Stitches. The prompt was to stitch something gold. So what I did is I worked all those border stitches. Sorry for all the part thread. So this is, pattern is by Teresa Wentzler. I won't insert a picture of what it's supposed to look like. This is stitched on 25 count antique white Lugana. So I gave it that one evening to do get the 500 gold stitches or whatever. And then I worked on it another time to get 200 stitches for homework. The prompt was for grass. And this piece has a lot of grass. Not so much in this area. Like this business I think is more trees, but in the other panels there is certainly a lot of grass. So yeah, I got 200 stitches in this greenery and it was really fun because, well, green's my favorite color and the greenery is just less fiddly than the walls were. Less color changes, less confetti, so yeah. My plan for this, so this was the project that I planned to give 3 days to this month, and I've given it like 1 day so far, or half a day or something, as I just explained, those green stitches, the 200 that I got that one evening or whatever. But so I'll try to give it another couple days, I guess. Maybe even more. Since I have not actually gone to 5 days on most of my 5-day projects, I'm sort of ahead. So that's nice. And then I guess the last thing I'm going to show you is the most recent thing I've been working on, which is the Mill Hill Village again. Here we go. So I started the building next door to the Queen Anne house. This is the Palace Theater. And this one is a lot more densely stitched than the Queen Anne house was. Queen Anne house is maybe like 40% beaded or something. There's a lot of beads on there. So the Palace Theater is maybe like 20% beaded or something. I don't know, or maybe less than that, 10%, I don't know. In any case, a lot of solid stitching. So I started at the bottom, worked up to the midline, which is this upper blue part here, that upper blue part. And then I started the upper floor. So there's going to be 3 windows, and then the walls are going to be filled in with this pink color. And there's going to be more detail that goes around on top of each window, and then there's a fancy roof line as well. And some lanterns that need to go in. Yeah, so it's coming along. I did the trees. The trees were probably the most fiddly part. A lot of different, a lot of color changes. The rest of it is more like, long columns and lines, so not too difficult. I gave this like 2.5 days. So I had a 5-day rotation on this. It took 2.5 days to finish Queen Anne, and then I spent the other 2.5 days on this one. And I'm hoping I'll be able to finish it pretty easily next month. I feel like if I can just get the rest of it stitched, then the beading should go pretty quick, because as I mentioned, there's not too many beads, and I have to do some more snowflakes, but it'll only be about 4 or so to get over to there. That'll be nice. I did 7 snowflakes on Queen Anne. That took one entire evening. That was like 600 and some stitches to get all those snowflakes. And also, being stitched in Kreinik, it goes a little bit slower than it would in DMC, so that was a slog. But hopefully it won't be bad like that, because over here, I have worked the border down to the almost to the bottom. There's just like one more repeat or so. The rest of this snowflake, and then one more repeat, and then that'll be the bottom corner. Yeah, so Queen Anne house underway. I didn't really like how it looked. I mean, I liked it, obviously, when I chose it, but the pink is not really my thing. But as I'm actually stitching it, I do like it better. I like how the pink with the blue and everything, and I like the dark windows. Very cool. I used the Palace Theater for one of the ultimate challenges. The challenge had to do with the Gryffindor common room being on the 7th floor, and I said the Gryffindor common room is guarded by the Fat Lady opera singer, and she may have performed here at the Palace Theater. I also used this one for the ultimate challenge. The challenge was related to the 7 tasks in the Philosopher's Stone. So one of the tasks was to find the right enchanted key and to open the door. And I said you would also need to find the right key to open up the Queen Anne house, because that also is a door that needs to be opened, right? Yeah, so that was good. Alright, so that's it for my whips. I'm really liking having the 8 whips, because I can find time to work on pretty much everything within the month, And I'm liking spending more time on this Christmas Village piece. It was great to get that finished on the Queen Anne house a few days ago and make a good start on the Palace Theater. Sorry. Water. Okay, so let's talk about my, we already went over the rotation a little bit. Let's talk about my stitch along. So this is, you know, it's just a loose kind of stitch along, so you can make one project fit multiple days if you want. You can skip a day, skip 2 days, whatever, just participate when you want to. You can interpret the themes creatively, so yeah, nothing super strict. So I will put the information up here on the screen, and I will talk about it at the same time. So the first day is March 29th, and the theme is the letter S. So that's stitch a designer or pattern starting with the letter S and or do specialty stitches. The second day, March 30th, the theme is jewel tones. So stitch something involving jewel tones. That could be any jewel tone, any gem color. Those are my favorites. So that's, you know, wide open. There's jewels in pretty much every tone out there, you know, from white to black. I mean, white pearls, black onyx, you know, everything in between. So basically, yeah. Anyway, so March 31st, the next day, day 3, the theme is Wonders of Nature. Stitch something with plants and or animals, flora, fauna, you know, whatever. So then the 4th day is April 1st. The theme is Imagination. Stitch something fantastical, literary, and or imaginary. So you can do something, you know, fantasy related. You can do something book related. You can do whatever, you know, just something fantastical, something imaginative, you know, something from your imagination. And then the theme for April 2nd is fancy. So stitch something fancy, whatever that means to you. So that could be fancy floss, it could be beads or treasures, it could be silk floss, it could be a fancy lady, it could be a chatelaine, it could be, you know, whatever you consider to be fancy. All right, so April 3rd, the theme is sparkles. Stitch something sparkly, so that would be like metallic threads, beads, and or opalescent fabric. And then April 4th, the final day, which happens to be my birthday, is the theme is focus finish. The idea is stitch on whatever you have that's closest to a finish, and or fully finish something. So I think that'll be a lot of fun, and you can participate, you know, via Facebook in my group Stitch from Stash if you want to. You can also just participate on Instagram using the tag OhSoCraftyBday, which I put up here. And you can certainly participate on Flosstube if you want. I'm planning to do like a daily vlog, I think, for it, and I'll post that probably April 4th or thereabouts. All right, so that's it for the B-Day, Sal. And I guess now we can talk about stash. So it's kind of a lot. Here's the first item. So this is the Riolis kit. It's called the Swallow's Nest. And it's massive. It's on 14 count white Zweigart Ada with wool acrylic thread, 27 colors. This thing is so hefty it comes in a zipper pack, yeah. It's 35 by 60 centimeters. And this is a real place. I think it's like a folly or something, you know, like a little castle that was just built for decorative purposes. I think it's in the Crimea, I'm not sure. Somewhere in Eastern Europe, but on the Baltic Sea maybe. Yeah, I don't know, but I'd like to go there someday. Even though it's not like a full castle, as I mentioned. It's just like a little folly. But I think this is beautiful, and one of the reasons I bought this kit is I want to try this wool acrylic thread. Not so much the acrylic part, but the wool part. I think it'd just be interesting to stitch with that, see what it's like. So. The second kit I want to share is this one. This is called Magic Forest from Golden Fleece, Zolito Runo. And this was something I've wanted for a long time. I love it so much. The fairy with her beautiful little flowers in her hair and her gorgeous silver wings, and the unicorn and the owl. Look at the floss. So this involves metallic floss, beads. The chart is massive. It's like 11 by 17 pages. So like 16 pages. And her face looks so pretty on the chart, even with the grid lines and everything. So I'm very excited to stitch that part. I think the metallic is mainly used for maybe a little bit on her wings, and definitely the reins on the horses. The horse looks metallic, or the unicorn rather. So this one, I'm very tempted to start it sooner rather than later. I don't know. I had planned to start Twilight Bridge by Dimensions this year, but this one, I really love it, so. Alright, this one is by Panna, and it's called Loft Bunting. This is the Halloween version. They also have a Christmas version. This one was on sale, and it was really cheap, like 10 bucks or something, and I thought it was very cute, so. I think the ghost is adorable, and I love the lantern with the light all around it, the light glowing out, and the witch hat is cute, the spider, and the eyes. I think this will be a lot of fun to stitch. It's probably the smallest of all the kits I got. It is 13 by 7.5 inches on 14 count Aida. It looks like Gamma Aida. I don't really know what Gamma Aida is like. Maybe we'll open this up and see, right? Let's see. Well, here it is. It is very, very stiff, but it looks like a pretty good fabric. Punching the needle through. Yeah, it's not splitty, that's good. Yeah, this is decent Aida, I'll use it. And then the last kit that I got is this one. This is Golden Fleece Castle Zolotor Bruno. It is 10.5 by 14.3 inches. I just love this. Fairy tale castle on an island? Yes, please. Here's a little peek of the flosses. So this one, it's on 16 count Aida, I think. And Madeira embroidery floss, which is nice. I've used that before. Yeah, 16 counts Weigart. So this one I'm also pretty excited about starting, so maybe sooner rather than later. So I got those 4 kits from my bobbin. If you watched my last video, it was a review of my bobbin, and I was very happy with the service and everything. So after that, I did place a couple orders, and I got some stuff. I also got 2 freebie charts. Just real quick, so this one is like the ghost and the pumpkin. I think that's really cute. And this one is a cable car. I like those. They're from Panna or Gamma. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that. If P is G in Russian, I don't know. Yeah, I don't speak Russian, but cross-stitch charts are kind of universal. Like, they're mainly, you know, the symbols and the grid, right? So it's not that big of a deal to figure it out. And most of these kits do come with English instructions. I also got a PDF chart from my bobbin. I will insert a picture of that here. It's called Beauty Witch, and it's by a line. And then I went to my L&S when they had their big game sale, and I got this pattern. Silver Creek Samplers, my Christmas list. I love this. My friend Tessa is stitching it, and I love looking at her whip, so I guess she enabled me to buy it. Okay, so I got a really nice haul from Silk Weaver. Some things that I had ordered a few months ago had been back ordered, and I guess they came in. So here's one of the items. This is Castle Walls by Ink Circles. Love this with the gargoyles and everything. Very cool. This one is Murky Manor by Glendon Place. And I actually bought the fabric to go with that one. They suggested this fabric, which is Sudden Storm Cashel, 28 count. It's quite a bit lighter than the fabric that's used in here, so I don't know if I'll use this fabric for this piece, but I think it's a pretty fabric, and I'll definitely use it for something. It probably would have been nice for a Celtic winter, but I already had that pearl gray cashel. And then I got this one, Fairy of the Wind by Joan Elliott. I love her. I think she is just so gorgeous. And I did purchase this fabric to go with her. So this is a custom dye they created for this pattern, and it's not named or anything. It's, as far as I know, but it's so pretty. It's like green and purple and really soft and beautiful, beautiful fabric. I'm very excited to stitch on this one. And then I also got this fabric, which is Belfast Mississippi Blue. Love this. So beautiful. I think I want to use this for Lady of the Flag by Mirabilia. And then I got this one, Christmas Ornaments 2019, or 2018 rather. Everyone's seen that. I wanted it because I'm planning to start a bunch of ornaments for Mania this year, so I just wanted to have more ornament pattern stash, I guess. And then I got this from them as well. This is the Realist Kit Griffin. It's 11 3/4 by 15 3/4, and it is done with anchor floss on a pre-printed Zweigart Ada. So I will take that out and show you what it looks like. Here we go. Isn't that beautiful? And this little X in the middle there, that's where you start counting from. There's an X, there's a little cross on the chart too. So you stitch the beast, but not the background. I think that is so beautiful. Wow. The mountains and the promontory there and the clouds, very cool. I can't wait to start this. Maybe after I finish my Phoenix? I don't know. Or maybe it would be nice to start up for Mania. You know, Magical Menagerie or whatever. So in addition to having the 8 whips, I'm also doing the category thing for my whips. So I have 8 categories that all my whips are supposed to fit into, one for each category, right? I'm doing it this way because I like having a good variety in my rotation, and I want to always have certain designers or certain things in my rotation, so that's another way I can do this. So the categories are, the first one is Mirabilia / Lavender and Lace, and I've got Celtic Winter in there. The second one is Joan Elliott. I've got Christmas Teddy. The third one is Fall, Halloween, Spooky House. The fourth one is Christmas / Winter. I have Mill Hill Christmas Village. The next one is history/literature. I have Winnie the Pooh, since it's based on books. The next one is flora/fauna. I have the bird of happiness, being an animal, fauna. There's also a considerable amount of flora in there on the background. There's, printed reeds and flowers and stuff like that. And then the next category is a sampler. I have Save the Stitches in that category, since it is very much a sampler of different blackwork patterns. And the final category is wild card, so anything could be in there. And this is definitely working for me. I like having the variety, and I like only having 8 whips because, as I mentioned before, I can work on all of them within a reasonable amount of time and hopefully get quicker finishes. So yeah, I guess that's about it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you everybody who comments, leaves a question. Maybe I should address that one. So one question that people left on my last video was, what do you mean by, it took me X amount of days to finish? Is that like a 24-hour day, an 8-hour day? What is that? No. What I mean when I say a stitchy day is I mean whatever amount of time I stitched in that day, which is commonly like 3 hours or so in the evening. It might be longer, like I might get 6 hours on like a weekend day or something like that, or I might just only get like an hour or something, or 15 minutes if there's a lot going on that day. So, although generally speaking, if I only have 15 minutes to stitch, I probably wouldn't even bother. I would just read or something. I've been reading a lot too for the School Magical Stitches, so there are different prompts every month, and then there's a Harry Potter book every month. So I've been reading the illustrated editions, and I have to thank Jessie Marie for cluing me into that. So this is Chamber of Secrets, illustrated by Jim Kay. And he hasn't done all the books yet, but I know he's done Prisoner of Azkaban, so I have to get that as well. The illustrations are amazing. Like this one, for example. Dudley stuffing his face. That's not funny. And you can see Harry in the background scrubbing the windows while Dudley is just like watching TV, pigging out. He was so mistreated by his family. Look at this one. Dobby sitting on Harry's bed. Look at those eyes. Yeah, there's so many awesome illustrations in here. It's going to be really fun to read aloud with my kid in a couple years. He's only 5. He's really interested in these. Like whenever he saw me reading it, he'd be like, read that, read that. But it's just, I think the story is a bit much for him at his age. He's only 5. So. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching, and I will try to film again in a couple weeks. Certainly less than 4 weeks. All right, see you soon. Take care. Be well. Be kind. Ta-ta.